Hello everyone, welcome to the lecture series on the course Advanced Relational Database Management System. Today we are going to see Introduction to PLPgSQL. PLPgSQL is pronounced as Procedural Language Postgres. Okay, this is pronounced as Postgres or it is pronounced as PostgreSQL. It is pronounced as PostgreSQL or PostgreSQL. Okay, it is notable procedural language for the Postgres database system. A procedural language is a programming language which specifies order or sequence of steps that are followed to produce a desired result or output. We use PLPgSQL to group sequences of SQL and programming statements together within a database server. It allows us to develop complex functions in Postgres that may not be possible using plain SQL statements. PLPgSQL is a block-structured language. Okay, so basically here it is telling us what it is a procedural language. Okay, what is the meaning of procedural language? That means what it is following certain steps. Step-by-step execution of the statements will be done to produce a desired output. Okay. Next here we say what it is a block structure language and it is used to develop complex function which was not possible in case of SQL statements. Now what all are the features of PLPgSQL? It is easy to use. It adds control structures to the SQL languages. It can be denied. It can be defined to be trusted by the server. It can be used to create functions and trigger procedures. Okay, it can be used to create functions and trigger procedures. So these are what the features of PLPgSQL. Now, the advantages of using PLPgSQL. Very first one is what portability, as its functions are compatible with all platforms that can operate the Postgres database system. Okay. Portability, that means whatever functions we are writing in the Postgres, those are compatible with any of the platform. We can say it can be compatible on the Windows operating system, it can be compatible on the Linux operating system. That is the reason here it is said to be as it is portable. SQL support, the use of SQL within PLPgSQL code can increase the power, flexibility and performance of the programs. If multiple SQL statements are executed from a PLPgSQL code block, the statements process at one time instead of the normal behavior of processing a single statement at a time. Okay, normally when we try to execute a SQL statement, then SQL statements are executed single statement at a time. But with the help of PLPgSQL, multiple statements can be processed at one time. So this is what the SQL support in PLPgSQL. Okay. It is going to increase the power, flexibility and performance of the program. Next, better performance. Postgres database use SQL as a query language, but every SQL statement must be executed individually by the database server. So, client application must send each query to the database server, wait for it to be processed, receive and process the results and do some computation, then send further queries to the server. All this incurs lot of inter-process communication and will also incur network overhead if the client is on different machine and then the database server. Okay. But with PLPgSQL, one can group a block of computation and series of queries inside the database server. Thus, having the power of a procedural language, the ease of use of SQL, and considerable savings of client-server communication overhead. It eliminates extra round trips between client and server, which also avoid multiple times query passing. This result in performance increase. So this is what the better performance is the advantage of the PLPgSQL. Okay, definitely it is going to reduce the inter-process communication. Okay, the network overhead it is going to reduce, right? The multiple times the client send the request to the server, then server come back to the server. This extra round trips are reduced in case of this PLPgSQL. Since here the computation is done in a block, right? But a block is forwarded to the server. Server processes on that particular block and returns the result to the client, right? So in this case, it gives us the better performance, or the performance is increased. Okay. Now let's see structure of PLPgSQL. PLPgSQL code is organized as a block structure code where each portion of code is designed to exist as a function. All variables must be declared before being used, and code segments accept arguments when called and returns arguments at their end. Each declaration and each statement within a block is terminated by a semicolon. As we all know that PLPgSQL code is organized as a block structure code, right? And here variables are declared before they are used, okay? And every statement is ended with a semicolon. Let's see the explanation here. The declaration section is declared by the declared keyword. Okay, so here you can see this is the declared keyword over here, right? In the declaration section of code block, all the variables are declared, optionally initialized to a default value. A variable declaration specifies the variable name and type. After declaring variables, the main body of code block is started with the begin keyword. Okay. So basically here you can see this is what the begin keyword, right? The code block statement should appear after the begin keyword. The end keyword designates the end of the code block. So here this is the beginning of the code block and this is the end of the code block, right? Here you can see this is the first statement, create function identifier parenthesis. If you want to provide the arguments, you're going to write the arguments, returns type as. So this is what the structure of PLPG SQL, okay? Since this is making use of PLPG SQL language, that's why we need to specify at the end of your block. It is working on the language PLPG SQL, right? End keyword designates the end of the code block. Now, comments in PLPgSQL. So here you can see there are two syntaxes that you can use to create a comment within your SQL statement in Postgres. So here you can see very first one is double dash. In double dash symbol, this is used, or we can say it is a single line comment. Okay. And here this is for multi-line comment. This symbol is used for multi-line comment. Okay. Next, statements and expression in PLPgSQL. A statement performs an action within PLPgSQL code like assignment statement. It assigns a value to a PLPgSQL variables and it is written as, so here you can see this is what the assignment statement. Something is assigned to the variable, that is what called as variable, or the value is assigned to the variable, that's why it is called as assignment statement. Next is expression. Expressions are calculations or operations that return their results as one of the Postgres base data types. For example, expression is x assigned to a plus b, which adds the variable a and b, then assigns the result to the variable x. Okay, so this is what called as expression, where a and b, addition of a and b is assigned to the variable x. Okay, so basically expressions are the calculations or the operations. Okay. Now here you can see this is the example, create function mult. This is the user defined word mult. It is compulsory keyword which is to be written into the PLPgSQL code block. Returns in dash. So this is the return type. Declare, to declare the variable. Here you can see I have declared a variable, right? So here I have declared the variable x of type integer. Okay. Now this is the beginning of the block over here. Okay. And it is performing some calculation. That means what, 10 multiplied by 10. Okay. Multiplication of 10 into 10 is assigned to what, the variable x. It is going to return the value of x. This is the end of the block. And since it is using language PLPgSQL, that is, it is compulsory to write it over here. Okay. Now next, now this is what, select into statement. Now what is the meaning of select into statement? You have already seen the select statement in SQL, that is the part of the database management system. Okay, now you are seeing what, select into statement. Select into statement to select data from the database and assign it to a variable. Okay, that means what, it is fetching the value from the database and it is assigning it to a variable. Now here you can see this is what the syntax. Okay, in this syntax one can place the variable after the into keyword. Okay, so here syntax you can see over here. Select here is nothing but the select list into what you want to select. Like from the employee table, you want to select e number, e name. That list you're going to write it over here into variable name. Okay, that means what, after into you are specifying the variable name, that is the target where you want to assign. Okay, or in which variable you want to assign, that you are writing after into keyword. From table expression. Okay, the select into statement will assign the data returned by the select clause to the variable. Okay, so this is what the concept of select into statement. The select into statement is going to assign the data, whatever is returned from the table, with the help of select clause to the variable used. Okay, thank you for watching this video. This was the introduction part of PLPgSQL. In the coming videos, you're going to see function, cursors, views, triggers, and so on. So please keep on watching this lecture series. Thank you.